business is the minutes.
Right.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the memorandum of personnel transaction.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. JD, the wellness program, screen out.
Gloria is going to give an update on the wellness program. We've been working at it now, for a number of years. There's some charts and graphs which we're in discuss with it. I think it'll show you that the wellness program that you people put into place is shown to help with our health insurance costs, being proactive instead of just reactive. And I'll just let Gloria take it from there, but I think we're moving in the right direction. And the costs are not something which are extreme, but yet the savings and the identification of major health issues is quite interesting.
This is our fourth year doing the wellness program, and we had 346 people participate. This is approximately 61% of our population. And we also had a number of spouses involved. We had 94 spouses. Most of those came from secondary roads. Secondary roads has really gotten involved in the wellness program. And again, the wives are participating. They're watching what they eat. They're trying to be as active as possible and work really hard at it. So they're one of our champions as far as the whole Woodbury County. Again, we had 346 participate. Of those, 134 are continuing with the coaching, the ongoing coaching that we're doing quarterly. So that's very good. We did identify 3 people that had critical health issues. As soon as the doctor saw the lab work, they were contacted immediately, and in turn immediately got medical attention. 60 participants that were at very high risk, and they too were notified and said that they were to see their doctor as soon as possible. 165 were at moderate risk, or about 47%, so approximately half of our staff were at moderate risk, and then 118 or 34% were at normal. So you can see that again I did identify a lot of significant factors. This also includes that 60% of all labs that were taken were abnormal, which is very significant that we have that many lab values that are abnormal. So that shows that we're trying to work with the employees and communicate with them, and then they in turn are following up on their own. The one document that I did give you is this document that has it. This one focused in specifically on high risk, and that's the lab values that I was talking about, and it shows where the moderate risk are the highest, but that we did indeed identify the critical. And then the next one we focused in on was cardiovascular, where we talked about the cholesterol and the importance of that, and also the lipid profiles. Lipid profiles play significantly in with cholesterol, and the A1C is the identifier for diabetes. So if anybody's getting near that, and the higher that is, unfortunately, the worse the diabetes is. So that was something we focused in on. Lipids, the TSH is thyroid. Anyone that has problems with their thyroid is going to be very significant there. And then in combination with diabetes and thyroid, or diabetes and TSA, those two play real closely together. So that's something that they watch very, very closely. And again, the total cholesterol. You can see that ideally we had over 60% that did very well. Borderline was over 20%, and those at high risk were almost 10%. So we did have some identification markers that we watched very, very closely and pointed out to the employees, met with them. Everyone met at least once to get the results, and then again, like I said, there was follow-up of 58% that are doing it quarterly.
I just think just a statement, I think that's absolutely wonderful. We just have to keep on with this wellness screening with our employees, because I think, we are able to see the tangible results from that, and the benefit to the employees, because we're catching these things really, really early, where they can do something about it before it becomes a crisis in their life. doing this. That's very important.
It was wonderful that we were able to identify 3 that were critical
Yeah.
and sent them to the doctor within hours after the doctor reading the lab.
It's really more than just dollars, it's health of our employees and I'm glad to hear about secondary roads, sounds like a culture, a change in the culture out there, and that's what it takes too, our groups of people to come together.
We're doing
It's good to
very,
hear.
very good.
Gloria, do we still do the newsletter?
I haven't for a while, but I can.
You know, we should put something in our newsletter to the employees about, on this report so that they know what has happened and some of the results, just a summary of those results, so that they see the importance of it and really appreciate them coming in and continuing to do this.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Next, we have the resolution property sale for parcel number 24940. Is there a motion?
Move to put it on the agenda for the 26th at 10:15.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval for a liquor license for the White Horse Patrol.
Move it.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Have the approval of the liquor license for the Anthem Golf Course. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mark?
Morning.
Gordon?
Today we have a permit to place some fiber optic cable in Sunnybrook and Christie Roads. They're proposing jack and bore around the culverts and then plowing in areas where we don't have any obstructions to the roadside. I recommend approval.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
I can do it, Mark?
That's it for today.
Are you plowing again, still?
Yes, we are. We've had to run crews back out on paved roads. Right now, probably one of the most difficult ones we have to keep open is Correctionville Road, high banks out there. We only had it open to 1 lane last night, and that lane is continually blowing shut on us.
You got that thing going again today, so.
Yeah, Highway 20 had some areas as I was coming in that were starting to approach whiteout, so it's blowing pretty hard, it's starting to blaze the road in places. Some of the areas we opened yesterday are blowing shut behind us, so we'll be beating it for a while.
I saw that big truck coming up 75 yesterday. Boy, is that thing impressive.
Yeah.
It's like a monster.
Well, the guys, we kept the motor graders out late last night. Our goal was to try and get around to where all the residences were and make sure that we had a hole punched in those. Today, we're trying to improve, but we're having to go back out and reopen some of what we did yesterday. So we're in this for a couple of days anyway.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you again.
Hope it's the last one.
I hope so too.
John?
Good morning.
Gordon?
I have a single item for your consideration this morning. We've received a subdivision application from Trevor and Kimberly Lake, who wish to take a 19-plus acre parcel, split it into 2 pieces and sell the 2 pieces independently. The location is approximately 2.1 miles east of Sioux City on the north side of 120th Street. CSR is 50. We're going to make a couple recommendations regarding the paving agreement as well as an easement. And there is some incorrect information in your packet. I'd like to correct it now. Last sentence of the last paragraph, the easement will be through lot 2 to lot 1. We had shown the reverse of that. Be happy to answer any questions.
back.
Yeah, I'll take those back if you don't need them.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Here you are. John, you got a couple more here.
Rob?
Thank you. Today, Roger Cotter was with us from the Sioux City Farmers Market to go over the report for last year's activities and also for sponsorship. I'll just make a couple quick comments before Roger makes his presentation. But the Sioux City Farmers Market has been one of the great joys of my life. It's been diversified agriculture, and it's been a great joy not only of my life, but many people who go there. This has been a long road. We've been involved with it from the very beginning as a county, as a sponsor. I just hope, pray that the supervisors continues their support over the years so they can continue to do their good work and grow the local economy through food production. And with that, I'll turn it over to Roger.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Raj.
Thank you very much for not only allowing me the time here, but thank you very much for your support in the past. Thank you very much. I want to thank Rob formally. Rob is a board member on Buy Fresh, Buy Local Siouxland, which is the nonprofit that oversees the farmers market, and he has been a great asset to us both as a board member, but also from a partner standpoint, because as a liaison between the farmers market and the folks out in the county, the producers and such, he's brought a lot of vendors into us to help us grow. And we appreciate that. We're going to be sorry to see him leave. He's been a good supporter of the farmers market. And what we wanted to do today, and I know we forwarded out an email version of our annual report to you. I thought I'd give you the prettier one and leave that with you. I also have for you today, as I think I've done annually, I'll do it again because we like to see people shopping and not using recycle or not using bags that are not healthy to the environment. This is the 2012 version of our farmers market grocery bag. We have now, let's see, the first year I think we did 500 of these, and we have done 3 years now, 2,500 of these that we've been able to give away throughout the summer. We are very blessed because the folks at St. Luke's Medical Center and Great Southern Bank have come back once again as our presenting sponsors. So we will be doing another 2,500 of these out at the market again this coming summer. We blessed that this is the 4th year for each of them as our presenting sponsors. You folks have likewise been master sponsors with us for the last 3 years. We're hoping that you will join us again this year and support us again this year. And I've got a copy of our sponsor packet that I'm going to send around as well. And I'm going to keep it short and sweet and open it up for questions if anyone has any questions. We raise, total budget is just under about $50,000 a year. The amount that we raise from our producers covers the costs of our market manager, and I'm sorry that she's not able to be here today. We have a new one. Brittany Hoffman is the new market manager. Dee has retired, semi-retired, shall we say. She's working with the folks at Saturday in the Park, and she will be doing the graphics work for us still. So we're able to keep her involved in the market and be able to utilize her graphics talents for our ads and the graphic work that we need to do. Brittany comes to us from O'Neill. She recently moved to Sioux City, got married and moved to Sioux City. She has a history in horticulture and a work history with the major greenhouse, I think it's Shamrock Greenhouse down in O'Neill. Number of years employed there, so she's got a good background, and she's gonna be a great addition. She is currently a student at Morningside in their sustainability, doing a business and a dual major in business and sustainability. So she is kind of a perfect match for us. Was a great find for us. And she is in the process right now of getting things rolling. We've got vendors that are in the process of signing up. We look like we're gonna have at least 14 of our produce vendors back again this year. Looks like we're gonna be pretty full up with that. We ended the year with about 55 or 56 total vendors. And with that, you folks have been a great partner with us. You've seen me several times. I've seen all of you down there at one point in time or another. And thank you very much for being a patron of the market. I'll open it up for questions, if anybody's got any questions about the
I
market.
do. It's Wednesday morning, just to clarify. Wednesday morning, Saturday morning. Is there an evening?
We did, for 2 years, we tried a Monday evening, and it didn't go very well.
Okay.
It was one of the, there wasn't enough patrons to get enough vendors. There weren't enough vendors to get enough patrons, kind of a chicken and egg situation. So we backed down to our roots, which is Wednesday morning and Saturday mornings from 8 o'clock until 1. And it's a great place to start your day, especially on Saturdays, start the weekend out with breakfast. Because we've got some great folks doing some wonderful breakfast stuff. So,
I'd like to add, you may recall last year in our budget negotiations that in my budget, we provided a certain amount of donations to be given. We basically, in the department, included the annual contribution to the farmers market as a consistent long-term support for this group and for the economies and for the farmers in the region. And I think that Roger's done a great job in moving this forward, and it's a very solid operation. I know he spends a heck of a lot of time with the vendors and keeping everything in order over there, and it's much appreciated. But I'm hoping that this board continues that long-term obligation and support for I think, one of the premier summer activities. Just to give you the numbers, I don't know if you mentioned it in your materials, but the amount of people that this draws in is as much as the Orpheum does during a particular summer season, I believe.
we figure that about 60 to 65,000 people run through the market each year. Typically we run for 6 months of the year, so we're running Wednesdays and Saturdays 6 months of the year. Typical Saturday is about 2,000 to 3,000 people. Sometimes for some of our special events a little bit more, and 26 weeks out of the year. As I mentioned earlier, the vendor fees pay for about half of our budget. And if you're interested, I have a copy of our budget or of our expenses for the last year here for you. The other half, where the sponsorship pieces come in, is to do the marketing, the promotions, the marketing, the advertising. So the vendors' fees cover everything from the market manager's expense to the porta potties and all of our basic expenses, and then the sponsorship fees or the sponsorship commitments go towards the promotional aspects of it strictly.
It's a master sponsor. Is at the same level that it was last year? Is that what we did last year?
Yes.
I just didn't know if that was.
Yep.
Well, I would move to continue sponsoring at the master level.
I second the motion.
I'm passing around a copy of our expense and income and expenses for the last year. We're pretty lean and mean. I'm a volunteer, Rob's a volunteer, all of the board members are volunteers. And so our only paid piece of the puzzle is the contract with, this year, Brittany, for her services.
I think it's a great place. I'm very happy that we have it in our community.
I do too, but I'm kind of, I'm a little jaded, shall we say.
But it is, and when you go down there,
So
people
thank you.
are happy, and you do see familiar faces every week. It seems to be, some of the same folk, but I'm sure new ones come and go as they're in town. And it's just grown. It's, conversations and I guess, I don't know how long you did the location. I have an idea
Sure.
for your next one.
This is will be our 5th year at this location, so, yeah, it's,
Hopefully in the future will be a permanent facility.
that is
You know.
hopefully down the way.
Well, that's what I'm looking forward to. I mean, it is a positive
It
thing
is, it's such a.
for this whole area in Woodbury County. And the vendors that come in, it's just absolutely, they're just amazing. And it's a good place for family to bring, the kids and whatever. And I see, my wife loves to go down there and bring her little doggy. And there are other people that bring their little pets. And it's just a neat environment. And it seems to be growing, every year. And I have no problem in continuing to sponsor it.
Appreciate that. We have lots of pet owners who bring or pets who bring their owners.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much for your continued support. Appreciate it. If you have any questions along the way, you know how to get a hold of me. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Roger.
Much like seeing you, I know spring is just.
Spring is coming. And we got some moisture finally.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks all.
You're welcome.
Mr. Butler.
Okay, every year at this time, we kind of give a little budget recap before our actual public hearing. So I'd like to read what I've written down, and I'll start right at the beginning here. After nearly 2 months of budget deliberations with the elected officials and department heads, the budgeting process has brought the Board of Supervisors to the public hearing on today at 10:30. During these budget deliberations, budgets were reduced by a total of $1,157,441, of which $506,774 were in the regular funds and $650,667 were in the Health Services Fund, formerly the Mental Health Fund. The Board of Supervisors also are using cash reserves that were created by the health insurance holidays, unanticipated revenues, and budgets that were not expended. The health insurance holidays that helped reduce the tax asking was $799,094. And this is exactly what the board said they were gonna do, and this is what they have done when we did these insurance holidays 2 different times last year, July and I think in January. Should be remembered that for the fiscal year 2014, the TIF release from the city of Sioux City was reduced by $93,885,669 in taxable value for projects in the Downer Park TIF districts. What this meant to the county was a loss of potential revenue of $580,942 for fiscal year 2014, which had been available for the last several fiscal years. The county, and I want to emphasize, did not raise the tax rates or tax asking to make up for this loss of revenues. How we did that was using cash reserves and making cuts. What this all means to the taxpayer in the county's total tax asking, it is being reduced by $110,730 in the current fiscal year 2013. I believe we are probably the only entity that is reducing our tax askings. Okay, on the second page there, the only tax increase will be for a special CIP fund for the renovations and construction on 15 bridges and a short paving project which is out by Anthem for the new elevator. This will be a township levy only, which will affect rural properties outside the city limits. The $1.3 million will be levied each fiscal year with a sunset of 5 years. These funds will be deposited and accounted for in a standalone county fund. These additional funds are needed to protect and preserve the bridge infrastructure of the county, keep an efficient farm-to-market system, and also public safety in regards to fire protection, ambulance service, and law enforcement. The Farm Bureau Board of Directors saw the importance of this additional revenue and unanimously supported the idea. Also, the Board of Supervisors held 3 town meetings with a favorable response. The federal and state governments appear not to provide any additional fiscal assistance or financial assistance to help with the aging infrastructure, so the Board of Supervisors are proposing a partial solution. This money here will be in addition to the regular 5-year plan the secondary roads has in their budget. So they, over 5 years, they do 15 bridges there, and we'll do 15 with the new CIP levy. The total county budget would be $50,069,381 compared to $53,449, $964. $53,449,964. Big numbers.
Which is the current budget.
Yes. Now, the reason it
50
did
is
drop,
next year.
right, 50 million this coming year. The reason it dropped was because of mental health funding. The state took over part, but we did have an increase also in expenditures on the secondary road CIP. The countywide tax rates will be $7.39 per taxable $1,000 compared to $7.44 per taxable $1,000 for this current year. They went down. The township rate will be $11.04 per taxable $1,000 compared to $9.84 for fiscal year 2013. The reason for the township fund tax rate increase is the CIP for bridges and road renovation. The Board of Supervisors have made historic decisions that will be a benefit for years to come. CF Industries, a large investment in Iowa history, will provide additional revenues through taxing bodies in the future, and the board's decision on a secondary road CIP fund will preserve county infrastructure while allowing the rural area to invest in their future. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Butler? Yes, sir.
I'm Paul Horsey. I live in Sioux City. I haven't been here for any of your meetings to this point. Unfortunately paid a lot of attention to what's going on in the paper, some of which maybe I should believe, some of which maybe I shouldn't. But my concern is the first tee of Sioux City, of Woodbury County, I should say.
Okay, let me stop you, Paul.
I
That'll
don't
come
know
up,
if this is the place to bring this up, but go ahead.
yeah, that'll come up in just 2 minutes.
Okay,
So I'll have you right back up.
that's fine.
Yeah, that'll come up in public hearing and discussion.
Right.
Okay. Good.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. It's 10:30. We have a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2014 budget. Mr. Dorsey.
Yes, you are, Paul.
What I read in the paper over the weekend, I think, time's running up in anyhow. What I read in the paper is that we're comparing the first tee to a number of other organizations here, charitable organizations here in town. I don't think that's a good comparison. The other organizations that I saw in the paper are strictly charitable organizations, and they are organized for a separate and specific purpose. The first tee was organized originally by this board through Steve McGrory to serve a purpose of, to my understanding, to be proactive in the juvenile area as opposed to being reactive. Now, it's progressed. It started out with 9 people. Those 9 people, from my understanding, and I wasn't involved the first year. I have been involved since then. I've also involved up in Sioux Falls, so I got a little bit of an idea what's going on in the first tee. If you've got any questions. Steve started with 9 people. From that, it's grown to 250. Some of the statements that I've heard is you're eliminating the county's involvement in the first tee. When I got involved in the second year, I felt that this is probably where it ought to go. The only problem with that is what happens to Steve. And I think, I don't know what's going to happen with Steve. Under your proposals at this point in time, I don't have any idea what's going to happen with Steve. But Steve has done a tremendous job of putting a great program in that helps the youth of this area. Now, I worked with the first tee in Sioux Falls. Their program started at the same time. Their program is probably 5 or 6 times bigger than what we have here. It has no government involvement, okay? But it's a whole different situation up there. They are interested in teaching golf. Steve is interested in teaching core values, life skills. That's what that program's about. And if, now, I think the program will survive without your involvement, quite honestly. People like John Claycorn, myself, and a number of others will run the program. But I don't know what's gonna happen with Steve, but I don't think Steve should be penalized for what he's accomplished.
He's not, he has put bumping rights back in his old position.
Okay.
No problem.
I didn't know what was going on there, and some of the stories that I've heard weren't that way, Larry. So,
He's gonna be protected as far as the child
Good.
is concerned. But I would agree with you, but I wasn't here to vote on that, Paul. But if I would have been, I would have voted for us to continue it, because I think that we really reap a lot of benefits from that particular program. As you say, it teaches a lot of good core values to our youngsters. It involves just a tremendous amount of youngsters from the entire Siouxland area. And it helps us keep our detention figures down. I mean, the kids get into trouble no matter what economic background they come from. And so I think, the investment that we made was a darn good investment in that program.
it was. And when I went to Sioux Falls before I even knew this program existed, because I have grandchildren up there and I got them here. I took my grandchildren from here to there to be in the program. Part of my reason was I could bring it back to here after I found out what was going on. What I found out was Steve had already started it here. So I got into it with Steve. My grandkids still participated up there, but I worked with Steve here and I worked with them up there. And they got a great program. But the difference, as I said, is Steve puts a lot more emphasis on life skills. And I really think we would, as part of being part of the program, we would appreciate being able to keep Steve's concepts, because that, to me, is what the program's all about.
And Woodbury County did fund it, a third of his position, or a third of the program, which probably would take it for October, because we didn't want the program to stop over the summer. We didn't, because our fiscal year starts in the middle of summer, just when it's in full swing. And my thought was, because I agree, really, even though I voted, not how George voted, but, and I like the program, I do, and I think it's so essential. I have an education background for 34 years, so I understand the concepts. And it was our hope that we could get some other, have enough working time to get some other governmental bodies and private donations, and have it be a combination of public-private partnership. Now, where it's gonna end up by the end of October, I'm not sure, but we wanted to start the ball rolling, because probably it was just becoming too expensive for Woodbury County to continue sole funding of it, forever and ever and ever. So to make it stronger, we needed other partners, to make sure it stayed. At least that's what I thought. I wanted it to continue, and the only way I could see that happening is if we had different partners coming in to help support it.
Well, I haven't really looked at Steve's financial statement for the end of the year yet. I got a copy of it, but I've been busy with a number of things lately, and I haven't really gone through that. But to my knowledge anyhow, the majority of the money in that program is coming from outside sources. I don't know. I mean, my understanding is that your involvement is Steve. Okay? There's a lot more money in that program.
Correct, and we know that too, so.
And so, from a first tee standpoint, an organization, we would appreciate your allowing Steve to be part of it in the future, not just this summer. And I think it would behoove you to do that. And I think I sent you all an email some months ago about that. And I think we should look to expand the program to other parts of the county. There's other parts of the county that could be served by that program. And to give you an idea, Sioux Falls is involved with Sioux Center. they're in Iowa. Okay, of course, we're involved with Omaha, who's in Nebraska, so I mean, you can understand some of that. But I mean, they have quite an involvement in Vermillion, in all over, you know, that area. So we could very easily expand this program into the rest of the county. And, you know, and I would also, you know, Steve, the other thing Steve does is, Steve tried, and you know, George, to pull in the students, the people that are in your organization, that are in the Boys and Girls Home, that are in the Boys Club. I mean, he did everything except get down and drive them out to the courses. So I think he's done a heck of a job.
He's done a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, James and Bruggen, Taxpayers Research Council, 516 Nebraska Street. I'm assuming you're kind of addressing all the letters on the agenda here, or just
No, just
the public hearing side?
public hearing, we haven't got the
Okay, I'm just
number.
checking, okay. First off, as we all sat through the hearing this year, I think the board of supervisors do deserve credit for being able to keep those tax askings down and lower than they have in the previous year. One concern with the budget that was pointed out, and we'd like you to evaluate for next year, is the amount of money that we are spending on maintenance costs for the various buildings. We're spending tens of thousands of dollars of plumbing for this building, tens of thousands of dollars in electrical costs for this building. Same could be said for the LEC, same could be said for the Chosper Hoyt building. The county should fully study whether or not a investment into those systems could actually create cost savings and efficiencies farther down the road. So you'll have higher efficiencies, lower operating costs, and lower maintenance costs by evaluating whether or not putting more money in upgrading the system to save money for the taxpayers in the long run. So that is something we would really like to even work with the county in helping develop that study.
You know, we did, maybe, I don't know if this is addressing your point, but even with our energy audit, I mean, we started the wheels on trying to get a handle on our energy costs and where we could look for efficiency. So I think that's a great suggestion, James. And you know, always where you can save costs, the county wants to do that. But we did implement last year that process, and hopefully will pay us all back in the long run.
And I think it will. And even in that scenario, I know you're only doing a little bit at a time, but to pull a little more money up front to get it done right away, you're going to see that savings immediately. And you will save money in the long run. It is proven. Yeah. The other taxing bodies locally have been doing that as well. So.
We've come a long, long way over the past few years. We used to fix it when it broke.
Yep.
I think we're a little ahead of that curve now. We're getting into upgrading before it's gone.
And the CIP process, which you guys have recently begun, would be a great way to implement, those ideas in that study. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Eric Blumberg, I'm with the Sioux City Human Rights Commission. After I left the broadcasting field, I was involved in the mental health field as a certified peer specialist. And over my years in that field, numerous studies have shown that mental health courts are cost efficient for counties, and socialization centers such as Friendship House are cost efficient and provides an increase in quality of life for those people in the community who live with a mental illness. So what I'm doing here today is asking for you to do whatever you can to replace as much of the $656,000 that was going to go to mental health funding. The way I see it, if you put back $500,000, for example, that would be 1% of the budget. And a 1% increase in property taxes would be about, raise the levy from 739 to 747. And I don't see that as a great, I don't see that as a great burden on the citizens of Woodbury County if you put that next to the fact that so many people who do live with a mental illness here in Sioux City need the services that would be cut as a result of that $656,000.
There's nobody at this table disagrees with your statement.
I understand that, except probably for the increase in the property taxes to pay for this. Now, if the state comes back and does fund mental health services for Woodbury County to the current level and no cuts were needed, then you can come back and and you can fix the property tax levy or give people rebates or something. I know that you're in a position where you have to pass a budget a month or two before the state legislature passes a budget. That's the system in Iowa, and that's the way it's been set up. But I think that in this case, it probably would be best for the citizens of Woodbury County, more cost efficient for the taxpayers of Woodbury County, if you provide these services on a continuing basis and then see what you do as a result of what the legislature does in passing its budget.
Well, we've got several problems. Denny, we're capped in our ceiling on mental health funds right now, are we not?
Yes, one of the problems we have is we can't raise taxes. We are capped at $3,564,000.
We're as high as we can go right now. We cannot legally go any higher. But if the state comes through in their promises, which I'm very skeptical about, they're talking about backfilling, they're talking about extending or increasing the $20 million to 33 or something like that. If these things take place, we've already got plans to continue Friendship House and to bring back anything that's been cut. But until they are done with what they're gonna do to us.
But you did say that you're not confident that that's going to happen.
Not at all.
So if that's not going to happen, according to you and probably other members of the board here, and you're capped at the amount of money that you can raise through
Then the
property
cuts-
tax revenue,
then the cuts
are
will
there,
stay.
are there, are there other revenue streams within the county that can be, are you at the limit to everything?
No, but you've got different funds and you've gotta stay legal. You can't.
Well, I'm not asking you to do
Tax over
anything.
here and put it in this pot. Sorry.
I'm a little more optimistic at state level that they will backfill. However, I think it's only a one-year fix. At fix.
So what, if it's only, let's say for instance, Supervisor Monson is correct, what do you do next year?
I think we lobby with our state representatives. That's where the answer really is, Eric. They've got to convince the rest of the legislature and also our governor, to backfill this program. And also, we've been looking at, as you know, the regionalization of mental health program. And there's not a county that I know of that's really in favor of this reorganization, because it is going to be detrimental, to the people that we serve in the county. We've got some of the best mental health programs in Woodbury County than anyone else in the state. We've done a lot of innovative things. So I think our best bet really is to change our legislative attitudes there and have the governor put some of that excess funds that he has back into mental health treatment.
What is your opinion about whether or not Supervisor Monson is a little bit more optimistic? Supervisor Clausen is not optimistic at all. How do you feel about this year?
I'm just,
I'm just
I'm not that optimistic. I'm a
trying
long
to
way.
get a handle on this because
Yeah,
it's a member of the
but
CCD
like I said, the
crisis.
only option that we really have locally really is to work with our state representatives and getting the attitude changed down there in Des Moines.
Is that 600, let me ask you one other question for information. Is that $656,000 cut, is that related directly to the regionalization of the system?
It's the state is taking over the Medicaid portion.
Right.
We receive no Medicaid dollars after this year. those funds, use Medicaid to offset some of those funds. Uh, It's a complicated structure, and I'm not gonna make, you know, if you wanna sit down in the back, I can explain it to you, but it's not gonna work here. But what George said about our state legislators, Woodbury County can be very proud. Our 5 people voted against this. I mean, we visited with them, they took the time, they understood what was going on. So we've done all the lobbying we can do, and our legislators are on board. This whole thing, you know, I don't wanna downgrade the governor or Palmer or any of these guys, I mean, it's past that. And we've just gotta deal with what they've given us and make do, you know, the best we can.
So basically what you're telling me is that there is no way that revenue can be increased by 656,000 or 500,000 or 300,000.
That could happen.
No, within the county budget.
That
In order-
could happen.
It could
because
happen.
They're talking about raising the per capita.
But that could only happen after the legislature. Right now, you can't do anything, your hands are tied, and you can only wait until the legislature makes the final decision in, what, May?
And our budget's finalized.
There is another way, and this is pretty controversial,
Well,
but if the
I'm
state
for it.
would expand Medicaid to cover that 130,000 people that are not covered, it may very easily pick up the people we're talking about.
But that's out of our control.
There was a news
State.
conference just last week, Eric, as you remember, down at the Woodbury House Library, where both hospitals, the Siouxland Health Clinic, had this conference down there, encouraging the governor to expand Medicaid. If this doesn't happen, this is gonna be devastating for our whole medical institutions here in Sioux City, and for the state, for that matter, if he doesn't expand it.
I really think, along with the supervisors, as many citizen groups that will also be willing to join us in our lobbying in Des Moines is so important. Sometimes I think those voices are heard more than ours. We have been on top of this issue, and, you know, it breaks my heart, to cut these services.
Well, I've already been in touch with several of the legislators, and the feedback that I got through their offices was negligible at this particular time. I'm not really sure whether or not, I guess, from what I've heard, it's up to the governor. It will be ultimately up to the governor and his decision how how health funds are dispersed throughout the state. Perhaps the legislature is in favor of returning some of those funds, but it's up to him. But I was here today only to take this issue within the context of the supervisors alone. To see if there was any possible way to raise revenues, perhaps 1%, in an effort to make sure that the quality of life for these folks who live here in Woodbury County, who live with a mental illness, their quality of life will not be interrupted as a result of the lack of funding.
I appreciate you coming and doing that.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
our hands are tied.
We've looked at everything.
We're still waiting to see what's gonna happen. A lot of power has gone to DHS without legislative review. And they haven't written the rules yet, they were supposed to be done in November. We're on a
Well-
wait and see here as well.
I appreciate you taking the time to listen.
Yeah.
I would echo what Supervisor Smith just said about citizens calling their legislators, because I'm sure that the majority of folks who live here in Woodbury County either know someone or have someone in the family, or they themselves live with a mental illness, and the lack of these services is gonna impact those people, those loved ones.
Everything.
And in Woodbury County, our legislators did the right thing.
Well, that's good.
We've been
We can only hope that,
lobbying with the other counties around here to get their people on board.
once again, I appreciate the time and the consideration. Thanks.
Is there anyone else to be heard on the budget?
published there, figures seem to intimate that they were going to spend $6 million more this year than last year. And yet, said we was gonna hold the line. I'm not doubting his figures, but I just wondered how these were to coincide with these here, and also by not, didn't raise the levy, but the receipts were going to go up, better than $5 million.
Okay, to address that, when I'm comparing budget to budget, there's two different things we're comparing here. Budget to budget. When you compare what he's talking about, we're comparing an estimated budget for next year, or proposed budget, to actual expenditures. A lot of times they underspend, and that's what we're anticipating, to carry our cash overs a little higher, that they'll underspend what was actually budgeted for the current year. So you are gonna have differences there, because you aren't comparing apples to apples reality. What I compared to what we actually got published as a budget amount to what we're budgeting for next year. So there's two different things we're looking at, and Jack's right, they do vary here a little bit, but that's because you're comparing budget to proposed or estimated spending.
Is there some way then that could be included in your publishing so that it wouldn't seem to be distorting the figures so much?
On that, they have to change our forms where we compare budget to budget, but what they're trying to do is get the expenditure of the current year and the previous year, which is actually done and audited. They have to change it then to show that it's budget to budget to budget. But they can't do that really, because you're preparing a budget for estimated expenditures, assuming they're gonna spend all the money. So for the current year, you may budget 53 million, but you may only spend 48 million. But we have to use the 48 million in our forms here, because you have to figure out what you think your actual carryover is gonna be for the following year to help hold the money, or we're using cash reserves. So we're kinda locked into what the forms tell us to do. Yes, it does distort a little bit, because you aren't comparing apples to apples. But what I try to do here is compare what we actually did in our last budget amendment, which is actually proposed expenditures, not actual expenditures, proposed, and compare that to what we have for next year.
What's this column that says reestablished 2012, 2013?
Okay, that's re-estimated. On carryover, that's re-estimated what we think we're gonna spend. And that doesn't totally jive with your budget, because a lot of times we assume they're gonna spend 100%. But in a lot of cases, we know they won't because of certain circumstances. So again, we're comparing appropriation against the re-estimated actual expenditures. And that is misleading on the form, but that's what we're required to do.
And then, like I said, this re-estimated is what you anticipate you're going to spend this year.
Right.
It isn't the 2014 budget, 13-14 budget estimate how much you're gonna spend. So can't those two
No.
come to a motion?
Because even though we're proposing to spend 50 million next year, the reality we may spend 51, or we may spend 46 million. But we're anticipating this is what we're gonna spend.
You may have a water main break, I mean, or, which
Never.
which would be an extra expenditure that you wouldn't plan in your budget.
Sure.
Or you may have unanticipated revenue, would that affect it too?
Yeah, and a lot of things that will also affect is our CIP programs. Next year, we're borrowing 845,000, this year we're borrowing $1,600,000. Now, we may spend it all, we may not spend it all. We anticipate we're gonna spend it all if we get the projects going and get them done before June 30th. But I can see what Jack's saying, it's hard to compare them back and forth, because you're comparing two different figures. One budgeted, one re-estimated, what we think they'll actually spend.
Second question, where in the expenditure budget is the 1.3 million that's going to,
That would be in our CIP projects.
down in the CIP project?
Yes.
Okay, I looked across under the roads and transportation, and that wasn't going
No,
up.
there won't be in there, it'll be down where it says capital projects.
Capital projects?
Yeah. And we can explain that a little bit more when we get to that resolution, or whatever the desired board is through the hearing, then it'll depend on if we do the resolution or not. So we'll better explain that too. And I think we explained it pretty well, it's a set aside everything. But we can get in a little more into that one.
We'll get into that again.
This answers my question, looking at your budget there, I think, well, you're raising your budget 6 million, you're raising your receipts 5 million, and yet you want to raise the tax. Doesn't jive in my way of thinking.
We're using a lot of reserves.
Well, yeah. Okay, thank
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is discussion and action on the compensation board recommendation for elected official salaries for fiscal year 2014.
I'd move it.
Second.
Discussion. Yes, sir.
James Unrugged, Taxpayer Research Council, 516 Nebraska Street. I am gonna, got a little quick handout to give to you guys. There's 3 here. Now, this data comes from what I believe we all agree a worthwhile organization, the Iowa State Association of Counties. And what I'd like to point out to you today, I got a couple of press here if you is if you look at the additional chair salary for all the counties in Iowa, and if you flip the page to Woodbury County, which is on the back, you will see the chair receives $6,014 in additional pay. Now, there's about 37 counties that actually do allow the chair to receive additional pay. And the next highest county is Scott County with only $3,000. You'll also see a couple other counties around $1,000 or $2,000, and the rest are floating around that $1,000 range. I would ask the board to actually consider reducing the amount of money the chair receives to be more in line with some of the other counties and what they're paying their chair to receive.
Do you know the other counties have an administrator?
There's only 2 counties that have an administrator. One was Scott County and one is Polk County.
And
It seems like that's, from your standpoint, I'm sure that seems like a reasonable thing. Having sat in that seat, I think it should almost be doubled. It's just a lot of extra work. So I don't know exactly the right formula for compensation, but, if you wanna call and have a talk with my husband on how much time I was home once I sat in that position, he said, you're not getting paid nearly enough being chair, so,
And part of it is public service as well. You are doing a
It is.
public service.
it is.
You
I
are
think
giving
it-
up some time, and you
You're
are being
giving up a lot
compensated
more time in that,
as well.
in that position. And long before I got here, it was determined what the salary would be, but I would just tell you, it is a lot more responsibility, it is a lot more time consuming than the rest of us put in,
And that's why I'm not arguing to eliminate the salary.
Right.
I'm just asking to possibly reduce it, or if you're going to increase the normal board salaries, don't increase the chair salary this year.
Well, I'm not gonna be in support of that at all. Primarily because of a couple of reasons. One is that we haven't had a county administrator for a number of years, and for good reason. We've been able to save the county probably millions of dollars by not having a county administrator. The chair acts as a quasi-administrator for the county. He or she takes on the responsibility of working particularly with the department heads, with other folks in the community, as far as getting things done for the county. I don't think that the chairs have done a real bad job, and it does take a tremendous amount of time. And we have overall saved the county a lot of money by not adding another administrative position. Since I've been here, we've had at least three or four county administrators. They have not worked out well for us. We've got a system now that I think works pretty well. It's a pretty well operating system that we have going here. So the little additional dollars that the chair position gets, I think is well worth it to the citizens of this county.
thank you, sir. Is there anyone else to be heard? There was a motion, was
Yes, for the compensation board.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Let's go for a roll call vote. discussion and adoption of the fiscal year 2014 county budget. Is there anyone to be heard? Is there a motion?
I
Is-
move to adopt the budget as is.
Second.
Discussion.
I would like to say that I think this board did a wonderful job this year with the budget, but I think we could have done better.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Call roll.
Smith? Aye. Boykin?
Aye.
Lawson?
Aye.
Munson?
Aye.
Tripp?
Nay.
Next item is discussion and action of creating a new fund entitled CIP Projects Secondary Roads. Resolution fiscal year 2014. Is there anyone who would like to be heard on this motion?
Lane Tech, Mobile Farmer. You guys know I've all been in the meeting, I just want to reiterate. I think it's a way of replacing some of our infrastructure that's going downhill faster than we're replacing it. And I'm probably one of the ones in the county that affects more than a lot of other guys. But it's just getting to be a big expense, getting around to different farms. And I know it's a tax increase. Some of you guys are on no tax increases, but we have to take the whole picture. Even though there's some opposition to it, there's a lot of support for it. And I think you need to listen to the ones that it affects the most and vote your conscience, I guess. That's all.
Thank you. The best thing I heard during all the things we went through on this was at the Farm Bureau, where a young couple was sitting there and they said, it's investing in our future. That's what this is all about, is the future of Woodbury County roads, getting product to market, keeping the price up on an acre of ground, saving money for the farmers to transport their commodities, the safety angle as far as when you take a bridge out and you get a fire or somebody gets hurt, getting an ambulance to the scene. These are all things that enter into the, what you want to do.
I mentioned something that, Wayne said something about people are not tax savvy. It's not about tax for me. It's about the fact that how often does the county supervisors have to come up with money? How come the state doesn't pull their weight? How come the federal dollars don't?
I agree.
So for me to ask a citizen that doesn't own 5 acres, 10 acres, 25 acres, they don't own land, they're only out there just to be outside of city residents to keep raising their taxes for bridges and roads, and I understand we need the money, but we've got to draw a line someday and say, you know what, I'm not raising no more taxes. The county, or the state and the federal government need to get paid to do what they need to do.
Well, we've been down this road for a long time.
I understand.
And it hasn't happened.
But this year, I will not probably be for it, so just let me know that now.
Dr. Wright, Pearson, I'm not speaking against it. I think this is a step in the right direction. And I know it's very complicated for you to try to collect from the people that live outside of the county, farm ground inside of the county, outbid the local residents who are trying to make a living off the farm, come in with the great big combines, machinery, because they have big ones, because they're farming a lot of ground, and the local residents fund the improvements for them. There ought to have been some way that you could figure to make them pay part of the share of improving the bridges so that they can bring their big equipment in here and do their farming. I don't like them coming in because they're beating out any of the younger farmers that are trying to get in here and get started in farming. That's my expression. Second one, what guarantee does the taxpayer in Woodbury County have that at the end of 5 years, this will cease? You're talking about this resolution. I just wondered what the statements in this resolution were to guarantee that the supervisors sitting in your chairs in 5 years wouldn't say, this is a nice tax, let's just keep it on and go on again.
We can only do what we can do. The resolution is for 5 years. At the end of 5 years, this tax goes away. If the supervisors at that time want to do whatever they're going to do, the tax could, they can go back and raise it again. That's, what do you do? What do you say?
I don't know. Wondered if there was some sunset that could be included in this, that this would.
Well, it is for 5 years.
It is for
And
5 years,
That's
that
set in
is.
stone. So 5 years from now, it's gone. But the existing body at that time, if they want to bring it back, they certainly can.
That's
Do
what
the
I,
same thing that we've gone through, but it's not the intention of this board for it to go past 5 years.
okay.
And thus is the reason for the resolution. I mean, we could have done this, Jack, without a resolution. We're trying to put a little bit of safeguard in that it will sunset. That's why we're going the next step in adopting the resolution. We could have just adopted the budget and not even had a resolution. But we're trying to put something in writing, something for future boards to go back and look at, that the intent was it for it to sunset. And that's really all we can do.
Is there anyone else here?
Talked to a lot of people. There's some younger folks out there on the acreages that aren't real happy with the increase in their taxes, but I think the overall, I've heard from people is pretty positive. This is not the solution. It's not gonna fix everything, but it's gonna do a pretty good chunk that will move us down the road, hopefully to better times.
And it is a decision about leadership, and the leadership this board is willing to take to keep our agricultural economy going. This isn't a 100% issue, just like what everyone has said. We don't have 100% support. We know that, but we don't have 100% support on most of our decisions. So this is just another one of them. So what you do when you sit in this chair is make the best decision given the information that you have and the input that we've asked for and that we've received, and do what's best for future generations.
Has there been a motion?
It's been a motion to accept it.
No.
Oh, there, I move that we adopt the full funding for this CIP project with the resolution.
Is there a second?
I would second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah.
Smith,
Aye.
Boykin,
Aye.
Austin,
Aye.
Munson,
Aye.
Tripp.
Nay.
Is Rob up here? Is there someone gonna lead this discussion, or is it just?
Oh, I could, let me see if I can find it. Basically, I can't find it at the moment, it's, a letter to the DOT that, yeah, I've got it. No, I don't. I guess I don't need it, but I probably not.
What
Big-
it is,
Yeah, go ahead.
right, what it is, it's a letter to the DOT, Woodbury County is willing to accept its share of the new interchange should it be built. It's a study, got here is, $400,000. The state would contribute $132,000. The cities, $120,000. The county, $120,000. And the private sector, $26,000. And it's a letter to be signed by Woodbury County, Sergeant Bluff, Siouxland Initiative, Sioux City, and Salix, and be sent to, the district engineer of District 3.
And just to follow up with that, the next step in my, as I understand it, will be the DOT will then come back with a formal agreement. This is just our signal to them that we are all willing to, come together and work together, to study this issue. I do think that Sergeant Bluff and Salix, either yesterday or today, have it on their agenda today.
Yeah, Salix has approved it already last week. Sergeant Bluff at 5:30 today is gonna approve it. It should be on the agenda of the city council next week. And then it'll be delivered to Siouxland Initiative for their signature also. One thing should be pointed out on the study also, that on these studies, normally, under all conditions, DOT does not participate in this study. This is how bad DOT feels, or feels the need for potential another interchange. So they're willing to fund 1/3, which is unheard of on these kind of studies. So DOT is with us, and the other good part is we're getting together as a group, regional group, hopefully doing this.
I move on the letter. Second.
Discussion?
Just that I'd agree with Dennis, that this is really unprecedented by the DOT, because they are really supportive of what we're doing, in this area. Again, with us landing CF Industries here, that really made a difference in them supporting the second interchange, because it's definitely gonna be needed. CF is gonna generate another 30,000 trucks in that area. With the growth of that industry, we're gonna see a growth of other industries down here, which is really gonna impact us economically.
And then you got Sabre around this.
Absolutely, they've already grown.
And you know, we went, the four of us heard Debbie Durham speak last week at the Siouxland Initiative event, and she spoke to, Paul Trevino, who was the DOT director. His, I guess, insight into how transportation feeds into economic development, how the department heads at the state level are all coordinating their efforts and trying to work as a team. So he, meets regularly with Debbie Durham and her team, looking at this interchange. So there seems to be a statewide focus on getting this interchange built, so we can certify as a mega site once, all the infrastructure is in, which then we have another partner in marketing our area. So we have a lot of that coming together, and I haven't seen it like this,
I've never seen it.
coordinated
Well,
before.
then maybe you think they'll finish Highway 20?
I don't know. I don't know.
One other
That's
part
your
of it.
job on that one. You're our representative.
One other part of it too, we haven't talked about, the railroad. They're a major part of this. That's gonna also be tied in with this development and where it's gonna go and how it's gonna affect Sergeant Bluff. So it really is important, that we do this and collaborate, for this area. It's, I think Woodbury County has a pretty bright future as far as, development is concerned.
I think so.
One other point to bring about too also is, this will be probably in our urban renewal area. We'll be using TIF money to pay for the expenses. So till the TIF is generated, we do an interfund transfer loan to pay for this study, and then the study will be reimbursed by the TIF, which mainly would be CF and other businesses being located in this whole urban renewal area once it is put together. So people on the north side, out in Mobile, wherever, won't be paying for this. It'll be done by basically our TIF district.
Larry, excuse me, what's the private sector? Can you explain the private sector, the 26 grand for that?
It was felt that the private sector should be involved in this, and that's, the Terry Lutz went to them, the includes all of their members that pay into that fund.
You know, really, it was private industry that, if you will, helped the process along. You know, it was CF asking for cooperation amongst the governmental entities. So it seemed, right, that's the trend now, is public-private partnership. The state model looks like that. The local model, we're trying to pattern off the state model. So it just seems up and coming with the funds drying up, you know, at the federal level, that we have to look to partnering with private industry that makes it stronger in the long run. So that's why from the get-go we added this piece, because we want that voice and that input too in the process.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And the funds.
Yeah.
What would be the soonest that they might be done with such a study?
I can't hear you.
What would be the soonest they might be done with such a study?
Soon as they could even.
Oh, well, this just begins the process. So the state has to respond. But as far as the study being completed, the state responds in a short time,
Maybe
what,
2
12
years.
months?
12 months, I think.
2 years.
About
If
2
they,
years.
if they put it on the front burner,
Under
12
12
hours.
12 months,
As fast as 12 months.
yeah.
Thank you.
Probably go to the commission this year in spring, right? Go after the
I
Senate.
don't know what their agenda is or schedules. There was a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. We now have emergency services, Jerry Brown, Chief Doug Young, and Glenn Sutterly.
We have a short PowerPoint presentation that we'd like to share with the board today in the audience. I can keep Jerry's computer over here. Okay, just want to talk a little bit about StarCom, and StarCom is the Siouxland Tri-State Area radio system that we obtained through primarily a federal grant back in 2006. We brought our first users onto the system in 2005. The system was fully operational in 2006. There's two committees that we use to manage StarCom, because it is a tri-state project, and it's under intergovernmental agreement, including the interstate compact. So we have two different groups that help us manage StarCom. One is a technical committee that looks at the technical issues that go on with a computerized radio system like this, and the other is our executive committee, which is made up of leaders, our community, both elected and appointed, that oversee the daily operations of the StarCom radio system. We have been entering into some discussion now. We've been talking about for probably a year now about where is StarCom, where is it going, and what do we need to do to keep it alive? And obviously this keyboard is not working. Let's see, I'll pick the mouse. It is a Motorola 5-site, 6-channel simulcast system. The chief always asks me not to get too far down the weeds, because Glenn and I tend to get too down the weeds with the average person that has to deal with StarCom. But it was originally part of a $6 million federal grant. We had incredible cooperation from both local electronic engineering, who is a business here located in the community that maintains our radio system, and the 911 Services Board to be able to keep StarCom up and running and make it what it is today. In 2008, through Motorola, installed by the local electronic engineering shop, we were able to do a $2 million upgrade to StarCom to bring it to what we call the 7.6 platform, which the system is really made up of 5 sites, and it's a simulcast system, and to make it, all the sites work together. They're all working together all the time, so an officer or a public safety person in the field doesn't ever have to switch between tower sites. I don't know what just happened to the top of this, but something's trying to run in the background. But a public safety officer in Woodbury County, Union County, or Dakota County doesn't have to switch between channels when they're involved in an emergency or when they're moving around the jurisdiction.
The towers are strategically placed out there, and we own this infrastructure. These towers are ours, we don't rent. Matter of fact, we generate revenue off of renting these tower sites. The backhaul, what we call the backhaul of the system, is a microwave. We do not rent any phone lines at any of our tower sites. Everything, all the traffic that goes back and forth between the tower sites is done on our own microwave system, which is also part of what we want to talk about today. And it was also purchased originally with that $6 million grant. Without the microwave system, we don't have a radio system. The two go hand in hand. Without the towers, we don't have microwave or radio. So the upkeep of the system is really important. This drawing's kind of involved, but that's our microwave. That shows where all of the different microwave links go out. And we do backhaul traffic to several other locations for city and county government across the microwave. So it's not just used for radio. Matter of fact, we have a link from Climbing Hill. We have a link from Climbing Hill and Prairie Hill back to the courthouse over the microwave system. It is a redundant system. It has a ring through the 4 main tower sites. It's ringed and it's redundant. It backs up, and then to the other sites, it's also redundant. The AT&T site south of Mobile serves as our kind of our prime site out in the county. What we want to talk about today is life cycle planning. The radio system is nothing more than a great big computer. The days of the old tube radio system or the push-to-talk chunk radio system is really pretty much gone forever. And I think one of the things that Starcom has failed to do with our local jurisdictions that help us fund it is to pat ourselves on the back a little bit. The FCC just went through something called narrowbanding that has forced jurisdictions across the United States to spend significant amounts of dollars, and in some cases completely putting in new radio systems and new in-view radios. Our radio system took care of that for our jurisdiction. It would save a significant amount of money in that. But without some upgrades to the system's going to time out, and we're going to start to have issues in about 2018. It's a large computer, so the software, the hardware all have to work together, and pieces and parts of this computer will time out. You'll no longer be able to get those parts. You'll be able to get replacement parts, but then you got to go through an engineering process to keep the system alive. We think the investment should be made over the next few years to get the Starcom radio system into a life cycle planning along with its towers and its microwave to keep it current out to 2030. We believe that the way to do this budget-wise is to get this thing on a path of a maintenance schedule and an upgrade schedule, so we don't have to go out in 2018 and allocate $6 or $7 million to do another forklift upgrade to the system. What's that mean? And it's kind of a three-part, and I'm going to try to be as concise as I can. Step one is next year we need to budget with our partners for about $500,000, $516,000 to take Starcom to the next level, to the next software and hardware generation, which is 7.7. Motorola right now is selling 7.14. So we're about 6, 7 generations. We'll still be behind at that point. But taking this first step will get us to a path where then we need to budget about $350,000. The $352,000 takes us out to 2030. In the first year, after the upgrade, so next year's budget, we need to put about $516,000 in there. And then every year after that, we're going to start at around $300,000, and we'll grow to about $352,000 out to 2030. And what that will do is it'll put Starcom on a path. Its microwave, its towers, its generators, its uninterrupted power supplies, and its software, it'll put it on a path to maintain it out to 2030, rather than to start budgeting now for $6 or $7 million in 2018 to replace the radio system. And it'll also ensure that we won't have unplanned outages. We occasionally have an outage on the Starcom system. Today we're doing a system preventative maintenance, so we do some of our own because some of our outages, in case we have a piece of equipment fails. Without doing life cycle planning, when we get out to 2018, we could see extended outages if we don't get on the life cycle planning or if we don't plan to do a significant upgrade in 2018. The third piece of this puzzle is the Motorola consoles. These are the actual computers that are used by dispatch. They're about $100,000 a piece. Our comm center has 7. The Starcom comm center, the Dakota County comm center uses the Starcom equipment over in Dakota County. They have 3, and Union County has 2. So all of this 1.1 million isn't ours. 7 of those councils are. They're right at $100,000 apiece. Those councils have been around a long time. They're called Gold Elite, and Motorola has told everybody in 2018, we will no longer be able to supply you an assurance that we can keep those councils running. So what we're here to do today is just, and we're doing this roadshow with all 7 of our partners to talk about where we are with Starcom and where we feel it makes sense to go. The microwave system upgrades built inside of that $352,000 upgrade over the period. So, but we're looking at, as a part of this upgrade, about $250,000 being spent on the microwave. So all of the money you see in that $300,000 the first year, growing to 352 out past 2018, does not go to the radio system. It goes to towers, it goes to generators, it goes to lighting equipment. The costs of, those costs are not in any of our current operating budgets.
Back up to the prior.
I would love to, but.
I hate to ask a question even.
I'm trying. Okay.
All right, all the numbers you've got here, the 352, is that only through 2018, but after 2018, there is no more 352?
No, the 516 we need to budget for next year, and then the year after that, we need to put $300,000 in Starcom's operating budget. And between that budget and 2030, that $300,000 will grow to a $352,000 number over that period of time. So it goes up a little bit every year.
So you're out to 2030 then?
Out to 2030, yeah.
And then the 1,160,000, that's just the councils?
That's just the councils.
And that's a one-time upgrade?
That's a one-time upgrade.
And when does that have to be done?
2018,
So we've got 7 of them.
we have 7, yes.
In the counties, that'd be 700,000, our portion would be about 3.5.
It depends on which way we fund those councils. Right now, the councils are a part of Starcom and the county pays 28%. They could be taken out of Starcom and put back on the county's infrastructure, the city county infrastructure list and capital improvements budget, and then the county would pay, what's your WCICC, 30% county? 30.2. So it depends on which way we fund those councils. It's either the 26% that the county funds at Starcom or the 30% you fund at WCICC, one of the two, but they're,
All right, that's just the funding.
yeah.
All right, the 250, is that a one-time figure?
That $250,000 of the upgrades will take place inside of the planned life cycle. It will be included in that 300,000.
So that 250 is not a figure that would have to be budgeted?
No, it's not. But we wanted to.
I understand more. Does anybody else have any questions?
Those are good questions, yeah.
And it's hard for us because we live inside of this world, and it's hard. This is our second presentation. Glenn did the first one with the city council, and I took the board of supervisors, and we're going to go visit the other jurisdictions. Right now, our operating budget for Starcom is $384,000. What we're talking about then, to be really clear, is next year we would add $516,000 to that operating budget. The year after, we would take that $516,000 out, and it would be replaced with $300,000. Okay? Doing that takes the radio system out to 2030. Not doing that, the radio system, while it may run past 2018, we could see extended outages while we wait for a replacement part. The replacement part then would have to go to Schaumburg, Illinois, be engineered, the software would have to be engineered to make it work on our system, and it would be unplanned expenses, and it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on the component that goes back. So it can be very expensive outage that would be happening in the middle of a fiscal year that it hadn't been budgeted for. So, we generate about $95,000 worth of revenue a year, so it brings our operating tax asking for the 7 jurisdictions down to $290,000. Sioux City pays 53% of that currently of this operating budget. Woodbury County pays 23% or $66,000, and that runs through, all of the Starcom budget runs through my office. Dakota County pays 15%, Union 4%, Sergeant Bluff 3%, North Sioux 2%. This gives you a little idea of the kind of traffic that goes on in the system. We actually can track how many people from what agency key the radio up on any given day. The original StarCom agreement, which we feel still stands, is we've divided the cost based on population, changing the formula every year based on a push-to-talk or amount of usage. We feel the push-to-talk and the way people are being billed based on population are very, very good. We don't see a need to change the funding formula of who pays how much, because we could have an incident in one of our cities that we could be the highest user in a year. So, but the averages do follow kind of the population, which was a good way of doing it. We're going to do this roadshow. We're going to all the different jurisdictions. We're giving you some preliminary information, not asking for any commitments today, trying to make the board aware of what expenses could be standing out or are out in front of us. And then we're looking to our other partners to see if they're going to commit to those expenses along with us, because if they don't, then we've got to go to plan B. We've got to start to look at, our footprint, our coverage. I will tell you, both the StarCom Technical Committee and the Executive Committee continue to work with other jurisdictions. We've been, one of the reasons this hasn't come out yet is we thought we had an opportunity for a partnership with either the state of Iowa or the state of South Dakota who would impact some of these operating costs. It's very clear based on the politics in the state of Iowa. The state of Iowa is never going to get a statewide radio system built. It's just too many politics going on, and we can't let StarCom's life cycle expire waiting for other jurisdictions to chart our destiny. So that's why we felt we wanted to get through this budget cycle. The partners on StarCom are on all different budget cycles. We are on the July 1st to June 30th. Dakota County's on the federal fiscal year. Union County's on the calendar year. So what we would be looking at is these expenses in 2015. The budget of 2015.
That would be our next budget year.
And that's kind of where we're at. I think it makes all the sense in the world to try to keep our partnership together on this system, including the councils, move the process forward. Motorola is working on some lease purchase options for us if we need it on the councils. They're giving us some numbers on a lease purchase option. I think we can borrow money for less than Motorola will lend it to us. One of the things that we've heard is, why are we giving Motorola all this money? The vast majority of what we pay to maintain StarCom is going to local vendors. Electronic Engineering, Calhoun Communications, Schroeder Electric, it's all being maintained by local companies. It's monitored. We pay Motorola to monitor the system. Motorola monitors our radio system in Schaumburg, Illinois, and they're in our system fixing stuff all the time. If they're doing software patches, they're doing upgrades, they're doing all kinds of things where we don't even know they're doing it, because we've got a network operations center that takes care of the system and notifies us if there's any problems, and then we dispatch the local technicians. But it's not like we're taking this money and sending it all to Schaumburg, Illinois. The majority of it is being spent with businesses that are paying taxes in Woodbury County.
Well, I think you and Glenn are doing a marvelous job on this thing, because it's a tremendous collaborative effort, of this whole entire area of our communication systems. And it all goes back to our interoperability, I think, funds that we got a number of years ago, how this all come together. And it's just, it really is amazing what you've done here.
Mr. Fowler.
As I understand, it will not affect next year's budget for expenditures. It would be nice before the next budget hearings for next year to make sure they do come in early with a 5-year plan, because that will probably be incorporated in our CIP borrowing.
Well, it could affect, because it'll be 14, 15.
Yep.
And that's our
Next year is
next
our
budget.
next
Right.
fall, next January. We'll make sure they do come ahead of time, not after the fact.
We weren't ready to jump into this budget cycle. We didn't have our numbers together. We weren't sure where we were at on everything, and it took us longer than we wanted to get here. We wanted to be here, a year ago, and we apologize for not, but we wanted to
A lot
make
of work.
Pardon?
A lot of work.
Well, we want to make sure we know where we are and where we're going for certain. We had a pretty good idea. Lifecycle planning is something new to the radio industry. It's something relatively new. And us being involved in something relatively new, the executive committee spent a lot of time asking us a lot of questions. We had several presentations from the vendors talking about done a lot of research.
Plus, you're working with a lot of different entities here. I mean, this is a huge collaborative effort, I think.
Are you a representative to Sarpenter?
Yeah.
No, I think Jackie, I think the last time. I don't know since the 1st of January, I honestly don't.
It was me.
Jackie, was you?
Mhm.
You're on the TSI commission.
Yeah.
I have to look.
Am I it?
I think you're on.
I have not been doing a good job, have I? Don't tell anybody. Where's the press?
They're gone.
Woody?
Woody's here.
Woody?
Hi, Jackie.
I think it's important to understand, though, that as we do this, as you call it, a road show, that if one of these entities bails on us, that our costs will increase, obviously. So I think it's important to know that.
Well, and our costs will increase, but they'll also be out of the system.
Right.
And,
Absolutely.
That's.
If they choose to put in their own communication system, they're probably looking at a lot more dollars to do that than to stay with us.
And we don't ever want them to go back to that.
No.
We really don't. I mean,
Doesn't seem efficient, right?
everybody can talk now. I mean,
Right.
this is really a public safety issue. It really, really is for this entire
This is
area.
really where everybody should be at
That-
right now,
absolutely.
where we can communicate with one another. Unfortunately, that's not where a lot of agencies are right now, but you're absolutely right, this is where they should be at.
Yeah.
Well, without that $6 million federal grant, we'd still be looking.
Right.
It seems we got it.
And four.
We've been
Call
spending,
box on the corner.
we've been spending a lot of money to narrow band what we have. And most of what we had wasn't narrow band. It was gonna have to be replaced. So we dodged a lot of expenses for everybody involved by putting in a narrow band system ahead of it. But I guess it's great. It's the first time in 30 years in my career, and I know Chief Young's and Glenn's, that every officer that's getting done on our county, whether he's a state, city, or municipal employee, he's carrying a gun, can talk to each other in real time,
That's important. I mean,
so
that
important.
is important.
especially in the world and the environment that these gentlemen have to respond in today. Every one of these gentlemen can hear and talk in real time to each other. We made an initiative to bring our state partners on with the leadership of our executive committee. We got a $200,000 grant to our state partners onto the radio system, only as mutual aid users, not as infrastructure. They're not using infrastructure for operations. So, but that's huge.
It is huge.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you at the next meeting.
We're checking the list. You're buying notes.
What do you always tell on yourself?
Someone's gonna find it out anyway, George. Might as well be the first one to break the news.
On 13. Are you on item 13?
Yes.
I'm gonna get some money's worth today. I didn't understand on your sponsorship of the farmer's market, is there a dollar figure in there?
$3,000.
Did, concerned me, these people come to the, after the budget has been set and ask for money, they knew they were gonna need this, why weren't they here before your, set your budget?
I think that was already budgeted.
We've already
in
budgeted.
Bob's budget.
Yeah.
That is, we do set aside $6,000 in economic development department budget as donations, contributions to other entities, so the money is there.
Yeah.
We had budgeted.
It's coming out of his budget. It's not coming out of anything else.
Okay, second one,
And that budget is funded with local option sales tax and not tax dollars.
second one is that there was an article in the paper about the funding that you give to non-mandated services. I know a lot of those are good, provide a lot of good services, but I think that sometime you might have to say, let's see your budget. Why are you needing this? How are you spending this money? And maybe have to wean some of those off of that. And
Well, we have the budgets now, we get them with their requests. And you're right, some of those programs might be weaned out. I think on this board, I don't think anybody's in favor of doing that. But fiscal times, what's driving that?
and then
We've all got budgets we gotta work with.
sure. But some of those could funding services for their protection, roads, police, so on and so forth, not all these other things. And thirdly, I just pass this on as people commented to me, why the Board of Supervisors isn't pushing hard for the new casino to be located in the rural part of the county, because with that located down there, you would get more of the tax revenue. There would probably be some motels, some cafes built down there, which would also add to your tax base. And some of them were saying, well, they want to expand, and yet they're voting to support one in Sioux City when one in the rural area would be more beneficial.
Well, Jack, I don't think the supervisors are. I mean, there's never been any formal, even informal discussion about, where the casinos are located. I think, the board has to remain neutral on a thing based on our makeup of the board, and rightfully so until we see where the State Gaming Commission is going to make their decision, because I know they're out. We're going to be out within the next few days to investigate, the various vendors that's interested in coming to the community, and then let them make their decision where it goes. But I think this board has been fairly neutral, and there's been really no emphasis on who should get it, where it should go, and this kind of thing. We only get ourselves into trouble when we do something like that.
Well, the comment you made to me, well, that you should have taken a stand, because that was the location where it was going to benefit rural Woodbury County rather than strictly Sioux City. We'll get some benefit, some of that, but not as much as if it was out in the rural area.
Well-
I'll pass this on. Comments that were made to me.
No, and that's fine. I'm the only representative to the MERD board from the supervisors.
Yeah.
I think Jack, Mark is from area education. Jackie, I believe, was from education. So they're caught in a difficult situation. They've become board members since, they were appointed to MERD.
Well, I know you're
And,
straddling the fence, and you got to be pretty careful.
I would like to address this too a little bit. I'm sorry, Larry. It's really, this is why regardless of sitting on MERD or not, that I think it's important to remain neutral. Because the minute you advocate for one location, let's say we came out